Order, order. The draft franchising schemes, franchising authorities, England regulations 2024.
I call the Minister, Simon Lightwood.
It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, Mr Rosendale. Can I first of all congratulate my honourable member for Orpington on their appointment to the shadow front bench. I beg to move that the franchising schemes, franchising authorities England, regulations 2024, which were laid before this House on the 9th of September, be approved. Buses are the most popular form of public transport, with 3.4 billion passenger journeys made by local bus in England in the year ending March 2023. They are an essential part of our national transport system in both urban and rural areas. Whether it's getting to work, school, the hospital or to the shops, many people rely on buses to get them where they need to go. Modernising transport infrastructure and delivering better buses is at the heart of the government's plan to kickstart economic growth in every part of the country and get the country moving. However, passenger numbers and bus service levels have declined, with 2 billion fewer annual bus journeys in 2023 than in 1985, and almost 300 million fewer miles driven by buses in 2023 than in 2010. Enough is enough. The Department for Transport is embarking on a reform programme to deliver its commitment to empower local leaders to take control of their bus services and support more integrated and effective bus networks. The Buses Bill, announced in the King's Speech on the 17th of July 2024, is a major part of this, but there is more immediate action that the Department is taking that will support local leaders to deliver better buses. The first step was taken on the 9th of September 2024, when the Department for Transport announced a package of bus franchising measures to support this plan. The package comprised of two elements. The first, the publication of a consultation to gather views on the proposed updates to streamline bus franchising, and which will then speed up and lower the cost of pursuing franchising for local transport authorities. The Department is considering the views that we received and will publish its response shortly. Secondly, the laying of this statutory instrument to open up bus franchising to all local transport authorities. Both measures support the government's aim of ensuring local authorities have the tools that they need to plan and deliver services in a way that suits their needs. Bus franchising is one of these tools. It is a model for providing bus services where local authorities grant private companies the exclusive right to operate in a specific area or route. The authorities retain control over key aspects of the service, such as routes, timetables and fares. Where bus franchising is in place in London and now in Greater Manchester, buses have thrived. Greater Manchester has already improved reliability and significantly grown passenger numbers less than a year after moving to franchising. Bus franchising powers for local transport authorities in England outside of London were created in the Bus Services Act of 2017. The powers to begin a franchising assessment, essentially a business case, were automatically provided to mayoral combined authorities and mayoral county combined authorities. Currently, for all other types of local transport authorities who wish to prepare a franchising scheme assessment, they face a two-stage pre-assessment process. First, regulations must be made which switch on access to franchising powers. Secondly, the Secretary of State must give her consent to any individual authority to prepare an assessment of their proposed franchising scheme. This instrument implements the initial stage of this process for all local transport authorities, ensuring that moving forward, they only need to obtain the Secretary of State's consent to prepare a franchising scheme assessment. This will reduce the barriers faced by these types of local transport authorities in pursuing bus franchising. This statutory instrument and the updated bus franchising guidance is focused on what can be achieved quickly to bring much-needed reform to bus services. Government is not mandating changes within this statutory instrument. Bus franchising remains optional, and local transport authorities are best placed to decide which approach is right for their areas. Our plan is about ensuring local leaders have as many tools and options at their disposal as possible to deliver better services for passengers. The Department will also be providing dedicated support to local authorities interested in pursuing bus franchising. Our next stage of reform will be the introduction of the Buses Bill. This legislation will seek to make bus franchising even quicker and easier to deliver, devolve funding and improve accessible travel. It will also improve bus services for councils who choose not to franchise. The transformative work the government is doing will turn the tide by giving communities the opportunity to control local bus services and have a real say in building local transport networks which form part of their communities. And I commend this order to the House.
The question is that the committee has considered the draft Franchising Schemes Franchising Authorities England Regulations 2024. Shadow Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendale. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I'd like to thank the Minister for his warm words of welcome at the outset. Mr. Rosendale, we recognise that expanding bus franchising was a manifesto commitment of the party opposite, and we are not going to oppose that mandate. In fact, in principle, we support the idea of local areas having more say over the services that they can offer to local people. But there are some question marks over these plans, questions which my honourable friend, the member for Bexhill and Battle, raised back in September in the honourable gentleman's statement to the House, and which I'm afraid we are not yet fully satisfied that we've heard the answers to. So I wonder if the Minister can answer them today. Firstly, how much has been budgeted for the increase in cost of this plan to the Department for Transport to support local authorities to prepare these assessments and then measure them against the criteria, but also to help local authorities plan their franchises when they don't have the experience to do so? Something which I believe the honourable gentleman has said is part of the plan. Secondly, how much has been budgeted for the increase in cost to local authorities, both in terms of the additional resources they will require to plan and run bus services, but also in a business sense? Because in many rural areas, even in Greater London, bus services lose money and often require subsidy. Where will this money come from? And while we're at it, where will the money to buy the buses come from? The Minister alluded to the fact that the bus bill forthcoming would have regulations within it about devolving funding. I'd like to hear a bit more about that. If the answer is that we haven't budgeted for it or from existing budgets, then that can only mean council tax going up or cuts to local services like social care or universal services like waste collection. There would appear to be no third option. But at the end of the day, passengers don't care who's running their bus. They care about the price, the performance and the reliability of services. And we've yet to hear a convincing case for how these reforms will actually make a difference to passengers' journeys. Are buses more likely to run on time, and if so, by how much? Will they help to restore the number of rural services? Will this make journeys cheaper for passengers? Although that possibly seems unlikely given the raising of the 50p by 50% of the hike in fares. I don't doubt personally that bus franchising can, does and will work for some areas. But the insinuation of today's SI is that it should be happening everywhere. And we've yet to hear a case that convinces us that that will be the case. Not to mention the fact that it appears currently to be unfunded. So I would be grateful if the Minister could assuage our concerns for us this afternoon.
Dan Carden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendale. Can I refer members to my entry in the Register of Members' Interests as an MP who has been on picket lines of drivers of buses over the years and who is supported by trade unions. But really, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the Minister for bringing this to the House, to welcome the proposals, and to say that on behalf of my constituents in Liverpool, we have often felt like the poor relation to London, where buses are more expensive, they work far less well, they're far less reliable, and we have had local leaders crying out for the opportunity to take back control of buses, to deliver what our local communities really need. So we're hopeful that this is going to bring about some real change, and I just wanted to take the opportunity today to put my support on the record. Thank you, Mr. Rosendale.
Okay. Afsal Khan.
Thank you, Chair. Can I also take this opportunity to say to the Minister that we really appreciate this in the Greater Manchester too. Myself, a former bus driver, actually, I know the need for this. I know how there are difficulties in cross-community connections that have those facilities. I think we've got a great work being done with the B network in Greater Manchester, so I think the sooner the better it is for all of our constituents. Thank you.
If there's no other speakers, then I would invite the Minister to sum up. Simon Lightwood.
Thank you very much, Mr Rosendale. I'd like to thank members for their consideration today for this draft order, and we'll try and respond to some of the points that the members have raised. In terms of funding, the government has committed to delivering better buses, and investment confirmed, of course, in the budget is the next stop in our journey to improving services. We've confirmed investment of over £1 billion in 25-26 to support and improve bus services and keep fares affordable. This funding includes £151 million to introduce the £3 national bus fare cap on single fares from the 1st of January until the 31st of December 2025. £640 million for local transport authorities to support and improve bus services in the bus service improvement plans. £285 million for the bus services operator grant to continue running and protect existing services. Officials now need, of course, to run a detailed business planning exercise to work out the exact allocations of these funding amounts. Local transport authorities and bus operators will receive further information on this as soon as possible when this process is concluded. This investment, of course, sits alongside measures we've already undertaken to reform the bus system, including through the introduction of the Buses Bill later in this parliamentary session, as we seek to ensure that local leaders have the powers that they need to deliver better buses in their areas. Just turning to how we'll support local transport authorities to deliver franchising, these changes provide additional options to enable franchising. So local transport authorities have the ability to choose the model that works for them. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. It could be through franchising municipal bus companies or indeed through enhanced partnerships. The Department of Transport is building its capacity to provide tangible, on-the-ground support for local authorities who wish to take back control of their bus services. The Buses Bill aims to make franchising easier and cheaper to deliver to further reduce the barriers to bus franchising. The Department of Transport is working with stakeholders to determine how local transport authorities can best make use of this new toolkit that the bill will provide and deliver bus services that are suited to the needs of their local communities. In terms of rural communities, I would argue that actually it is local transport authorities who are best placed to manage their local networks. So by devolving those powers to those areas, by allowing them to take back control, have greater say over the funding, they have a much better place to make decisions on rural bus routes than obviously someone sitting in Whitehall or indeed in Westminster. This instrument represents an important first step towards delivering the government's aim of ensuring local authorities have the tools that they need to plan and deliver services in a way that suits their communities. The upcoming Buses Bill that will be introduced, as I said, later in this parliamentary session will build on this progress. Through both this instrument and the bill, the government will deliver on its plan for improving bus networks and ending the postcode lottery of bus services. The plan is centred around putting control of local bus services back into the hands of local communities that use them, and will give local leaders more control and more flexibility over bus funding and the freedom to take decisions that deliver their local transport priorities. This SI reduces the barriers which may prevent local transport authorities from pursuing franchising and is a crucial first step in this process. I commend this order to the House.
The question is that the committee has considered the draft franchising schemes Franchising Authorities England Regulations 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, order.